Welcome everybody. Very pleased to welcome you to today's session through MBL Seminars. My name is Safta Mahmood, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about this webinar surrounding the area of assessments, funding, and also participation directions in children proceedings, particularly public law, but of course there are elements of private law here also. Now, this is an area that all practitioners working mainly in children proceedings, but also more so in other areas as well, such as general family law, need to be familiar with. You need to be familiar with the law, the practice, and the procedure of all these three elements: funding, participation, and assessments. And as you can imagine, this is an area that has continued to become expanded. There's more and more case law developments. There's more and more statutory guidance that's coming out. And in fact, recently, the President has also handed down some further guidance as well, which we'll have a look at today. So some of the questions I'll be hoping to answer for you today is, what are the different forms of assessments? Who pays for these? How do we ensure that vulnerability is dealt with appropriately? What do we mean by single assessments? What's the CAFA, for example? And how does vulnerability fit in when we do look at family proceedings generally? So I'll take you through that. Now, many of you will be familiar with the instruction of experts, so part 25, of course, of the Family Procedure Rules, but how does this tie in with the Children and Families Act of 2014? So I'll be taking you through that, the use of 38(6) of the Children Act, for example. What's the position when there are issues over somebody's capacity, so the role of the OS, for example? And recently, there's been a lot of guidance on the remuneration of expert witnesses. So how much can we pay? What happens if they wish to charge more than what the hourly rates are? How do we tackle that? And then there's a lot of debate and discussion surrounding the use of lay advocates and intermediaries. Who are they? How do they work? What's the guidance on that? So I'll take you through some of those aspects also. And then what happens if you have instructed an expert, and let's say you're looking to call that expert to attend court? What are we going to be doing in those circumstances? What's the guidance on whether we're going to be allowed to call them to give evidence in those circumstances? And then also towards the end of the webinar, I'll be taking you through some of the elements of working with parents with learning disabilities. Okay, so there's a number of slides that we're working through, and there's also some multiple choice questions at the end for you to have a look at as well. So let me then start with the single assessment and the CAFA, as it's referred to.